Okay, today we're working on the Mazda B2200 pickup with the Kia engine. We're replacing the front wheel bearings because it's getting pretty loose, so it shouldn't really be too big of a deal. And let's get started. Okay, with the wheel taken off here, you have a bolt that's right here on top, and then there's another bolt. I'll try to get my hand down here, right here, that comes off. Both those bolts are 21 millimeter, which is the same size as the lug nuts were, so that makes it easy. And you also want to make sure your brake caliper is loose and not tight. And if it is tight, squeezing against the rotor, then you want to get something in there and pry it back and open it up, so it makes it possible to put the brake caliper back on when you're done, because otherwise it squeezes together and you can't get it over the rotor. Which you can go ahead and do that once the rotor's off, but it's more of a hassle, so it's just pretty easy to do it once on. This one here is already loose, as you can see there, and so it doesn't need to be moved. When you pull this off, make sure you do not hang the caliper by the hose. I'm going to just set that up here for right now. Don't knock out the brake pad like what I just did. I'll get that put back in a minute. So okay, now the rotor's ready to come off. I can get a tool, get the cap off, and then there's just a nut under this with a pin in it. Now okay, you can just get back behind here with either a bar like this or a screwdriver or something like that. They usually come off pretty easy like this. There you go. And there's your pin. And this nut just unscrews out of there. And no, this is not a very clean job to do, so make sure you have paper towels, maybe wear gloves. It's never a bad idea. Okay. And be careful not to drop the stuff like that, like I just did. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take my tool, my pry bar, and get this sealed, hold out of here. Okay, now before you go hitting on this for a long time, you're not getting anywhere like what I just did, it's always a really good idea to clean the grease out, because I didn't realize I was up against, I don't know how well you can see that, I was up against a little flange right in here, and it has notches in it. There's one here, there, and then right here. And if you put a punch right here between those notches, that bearing race just knocks right out. So it was really stupid on my part. I should have looked at that closer, and luckily I didn't mess up anything. So just a little bit of information. Never a bad idea to clean the grease out and get a closer look before you start hitting on stuff. Okay, both bearing races are out, and now I can get the new bearings put in once I get this cleaned up. Okay, with most of my grease and stuff cleaned up out of there, I'm going to go ahead and get this outer bearing put in, and I'll go ahead and just get the race set in here. Now I should be able to use my bearing tool for this. And you want to use something here like a white lithium grease, and you want to make sure you pack your bearings. So you want to make sure you get them coated in grease and really get it rolled in there. Make sure it's all coated. And I highly recommend wearing gloves. I wasn't really thinking until it's too late, but gloves are always a good idea. I'll make sure you get enough grease here behind the bearing when you put your seal on. Okay, here's the seal. Should be able to use about the same size bearing driver to get this tapped in. You want to make sure that's seated nice and even. You don't want to be a little lopsided. Okay, I guess I'll get it flipped over and get the other bearing put in. Okay, so hub's ready to go on. Put a little smear of grease around here, and it should be ready to go. Want to make sure you don't knock your bearing out when you're going back in with it, because that is easy to do. Now when tightening this down, you just want to go pretty easy with it. You don't want to tighten it much at all. You still want to spin about like that, and yet you also don't want it loose. So once you get it the way you think is pretty decent, and it isn't loose, isn't too tight, and then you don't want to forget this right here, and make sure you get that in for your pin to lock against. Okay, just need to get all the grease cleaned up on here and just get all brake caliper put back on. Okay, I just got this completely together. Getting ready to get all this grease cleaned up. When I happen to see this laying here, I somehow totally missed this washer. So let me pull this back apart, put this in, then we'll be done. Really?
Eventually.
Okay, now I just need to degrease the brake rotor. Like I said, I don't have any brake cleaner, but I do have acetone, which works just fine. You just need something to take that oily film off. And make sure you get the back side of it cleaned. Okay, that's it. Completely finished. Just need to get my wheel put back on, and we're done. I appreciate you guys watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, leave comments below. I'll see you next week.